Good evening, friends, fiends, and night owl supremes. Welcome to A Bit Late, where tonight we're reading a dirty fairy tale. LOL, JK, but it's called The Dirty Shepherdess, and it's about salt, man. Oh, it's a very salty tale, and you will see why. It's very tasteless. Well, is it? I don't know. Stick around and find out. But do get comfy, get cozy, settle in, summon your familiars about you, grab a warm mug of tea, light your candles, turn on your fairy lights, and ensconce yourself in blankets and pillows for tonight's fairy tale, The Dirty Shepherdess. Once upon a time there lived a king who had 2 daughters, and he loved them with all his heart. When they grew up, he was suddenly seized with a wish to know if they, on their part, truly loved him. Aww. And he made up his mind that he would give his kingdom to whichever proved her devotion best. Oh, it's like the white cat fairy tale. At first I thought how sweet, he wants to know if they love him, but no, it's for divvying up the kingdom. Anyway, so he called the elder princess and said to her, "How much do you love me?" "As the apple of my eye," answered she. "Ah," exclaimed the king, kissing her tenderly as he spoke, "you are indeed a good daughter." Then he sent for the younger and asked her how much she loved him. "I look upon you, my father," answered she, "as I look upon salt in my food." Maybe she really likes savory food. I do. But the king did not like her words, and he ordered her to quit the court and never again to appear before him. So he has a sweet tooth. Got it. The poor princess went sadly up to her room and began to cry, but when she was reminded of her father's commands, she dried her eyes and made a bundle of her jewels and her best dresses and hurriedly left the castle where she was born. Oh, I would probably cry more remembering the banishing sentence, but good for her. She walked straight along the road in front of her without knowing very well where she was going or what was to become of her. For she had never been shown how to work, and all she had learned consisted of a few household rules and receipts of dishes which her mother had taught her long ago. Yeah, where's Mom in this? Does she not have a say in the sentence? I guess not. As she was afraid that no housewife would want to engage a girl with such a pretty face, she determined to make herself as ugly as she could. She therefore took off the dress that she was wearing and put on some horrible old rags belonging to a beggar, all torn up and covered with mud. Hopefully she traded for those and didn't just steal them off someone. Sorry, I have a lot of thoughts about this one so far. After that, she smeared mud all over her hands and face and shook her hair into a great tangle. Having thus changed her appearance, she went on offering herself as a goose girl or shepherdess. The farmers' wives would have nothing to do with such a dirty maiden and sent her away with a morsel of bread for charity's sake. Title of the story: The Titular Dirty Maiden. After walking for a great many days without being able to find any work, she came to a large farm where they were in want of a shepherdess and engaged her gladly. So somewhere in her journey she learned how to tend sheep. Cool, quick learner. One day when she was keeping her sheep in a lonely tract of land, she suddenly felt a wish to dress herself in her robes of splendor. She washed herself carefully in the stream, and as she always carried her bundle with her, it was easy to shake off her rags and transform herself in a few moments into a great lady. Fancy. The king's son, of course, who had lost his way out hunting, perceived this lovely damsel a long way off and wished to look at her closer. Of course. But as soon as the girl saw what he was at, she fled into the wood as swiftly as a bird. The prince ran after her, but as he was running, he caught his foot in the root of a tree and fell, and when he got up again, she was nowhere to be seen. When she was quite safe, she put on her rags again and smeared over her face and hands. However, the young prince, who was both hot and thirsty, that is one way to put it, who was both hot and thirsty, found his way to the farm to ask for a drink of cider, and he inquired the name of the beautiful lady that kept the sheep. At this, everyone began to laugh, for they said that the shepherdess was one of the ugliest and dirtiest creatures under the sun. The prince thought some witchcraft must be at work, and he hastened away before the return of the shepherdess, who became that evening the butt of everybody's jests. But the king's son thought often of the lovely maiden whom he had seen for only a moment, though she seemed to him much more fascinating than any lady at court. At last he dreamed of nothing else and grew thinner day by day till his parents inquired what was the matter, promising to do all they could to make him happy as he once was. He dare not tell them the truth lest they should laugh at him, so he only said that he should like some bread baked by the kitchen girl in the distant farm. Well, that's not suspicious at all. Although the wish appeared rather odd, they hastened to fulfill it, and the farmer was told the request of the king's son. To much shock, I'm sure. The maiden showed no surprise at receiving such an order, but merely asked for some flour, salt, and water, and also that she might be left alone in the little room adjoining the oven where the kneaded dough trough stood. She also has learned to be a baker since leaving the palace. Maybe she has help, or maybe she's just learning skills. She's a quick learner. Good for her. Before beginning her work, she washed herself carefully and even put on her rings. But while she was baking, one of her rings slid into the dough. When she had finished, she dirtied herself again and let lumps of the dough stick to her fingers so that she became as ugly as before. No one will recognize me with dough on my fingers, she thinks. If only it was so easy. The loaf, which was a very little one, was brought to the king's son, who ate it with pleasure. But in cutting it, he found the ring of the princess. Okay, good thing he cut it, though, and didn't just inhale the bread. Anyway, he finds the ring of the princess and declared to his parents that he would marry the girl whom this ring fitted. Tale as old as Cinderella. No, I'm kidding. Of course, there are many tales like this. So the king made a proclamation through his whole kingdom, and ladies came from afar to lay claim to the honor. Side note, fitting a ring to a finger would be pretty easy. You have 10 chances of it fitting sort of one of them. But the ring was too tiny that even those who had the smallest hands could only get it on their little fingers. Maybe that's where it goes. Maybe that's a pinky ring she put on a ton of rings. In a short time, all the maidens of the kingdom, including the peasant girls, had tried on the ring, and the king was just about to announce that their efforts had been in vain when the prince observed that he had not yet seen the shepherdess. Astute prince, very astute. They sent to fetch her, and she arrived covered with rags. Why, I'm not sure. But with her hands cleaner than usual. Good. So that she could easily slip on the ring. The king's son declared that he would fulfill his promise, and when his parents mildly remarked that the girl was only the keeper of sheep, and a very ugly one too, the maiden boldly said that she was born a princess and that if they would only give her some water and leave her alone in a room for a few minutes, she would show them that she could look as well as anyone in fine clothes. You don't have to be a princess to be pretty or look good in fine clothes, though. Proves nothing. Fairy tale logic. Anyway, they did what she asked, and when she entered in a magnificent dress, she looked so beautiful that they all saw she must be a princess in disguise. The king's son recognized the charming damsel of who he had once caught a glimpse, and, flinging himself at her feet, asked if she would marry him. The princess then told her story and said that it would be necessary to send an ambassador to her father to ask his consent and invite him to the wedding. She gets banished. She's like, before I say anything, let's ask my dad, even though I am banished. Okay. I love in fairy tales when they're like, I've been in disguise the whole time. It's me, you finally found me. You were looking for me the whole time and you knew who I was. I'm the one who made your bread, as you very well knew, but here's my plan. Ha ha ha. Anyway, the princess's father, who had never ceased to repent his harshness towards his daughter, had sought her through the land, but as no one could tell him anything of her, he supposed her dead. Therefore, it was with great joy that he heard that she was living and that a king's son asked her in marriage, and he quitted his kingdom with his elder daughter so as to be present at the ceremony. By the orders of the bride, they only served her father at the wedding breakfast bread without salt, and meat without seasoning. Seeing him make faces and eat very little, his daughter, who sat beside him, inquired if his dinner was not to his taste. No, he replied. The dishes are carefully cooked and sent up, but they are also dreadfully tasteless. What a long joke this girl played on her father. Did I not tell you, my father, that salt was the best thing in life? And yet when I compared you to salt to show you how much I loved you, you thought slightingly of me and you chased me from your presence. Oh my god. LOL. The king embraced his daughter and allowed that he had been wrong to misinterpret her words. Oh my gosh. Then for the rest of the wedding feast, they gave him bread made with salt and dishes with seasoning, and he said they were the very best he had ever eaten. The end. I hope you enjoyed this salty, dirty fairy tale. It was one big gotcha joke on the king, but sometimes a lighthearted fairy tale joke is all you need to make the day turn around or the evening go a little smoother. But hey, I hope you enjoyed the story. Certainly enjoyed the telling of it. Do let me know what other sorts of stories and sounds you'd like to hear here. But now, off to sleep and dream what you will, or stay a while and enjoy another tale. Whichever you choose, I'll speak to you again, and until then, sweet and salty dreams, my friend. Good night. Hot and thirsty.